I thank you for your wait, ladies and gentlemen, and apologize for it, but we are here now. Welcome to the BDRPE Late Show. I'm your host, D. Doss. It's always great to see everybody. We got a big crowd already. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend, Mr. Stephen Benjamin. What's up, Steve-O?
What's up, big broski? What little broski?
Not a lot, not a lot. He's been a guest on the old channel and the new one, and we had us a time and a half. So I'm glad to have you back, bro.
Always glad to be back.
All right, so uh, this is something that was revealed on the old channel, but not the new. And let's just start off from here.
You
You
mean
were
the
in
old
special.
channel when I first called to introduce myself to you?
Yeah, I get you. You want to tell that one again? Do you reiterate it?
I ain't gonna
All
tell it
right.
right now. I'll wait till later.
No, they threw it out there. Might as well go ahead and get it out of your system,
Oh
folks.
God.
This gentleman called me. According to him, I don't have a very clear memory of this, but he called me, and he had some difficulties on his property, and after I found out there were difficulties indeed, because they're going full tilt boogie all over the place. Dog man, Bigfoot. It wasn't until later on that I realized that this gentleman has had experiences with cryptids since he was a child. But now you can take it up during this phone call.
And how dare you call me a gentleman?
Gentlemen, who walked in?
Who won't smoke? Well, well, it was a long time ago, 2016. I knew there were Bigfoot on the property. I ran across them by accident. He loves that story playing Pokemon. But anyway,
Yeah,
we ain't gonna get
Pokemon
into
Go.
that. Yeah, Pokemon Go. We
Yeah,
ain't gonna
we'll,
get
we'll,
into
we'll
any of
talk
that.
about that later.
Yeah, he loves to call me on that one. But anyway, so I'm sitting out on the back patio, right there about 10 feet, maybe 10, 15 feet from the wood line, about 30 yards from the lake. What lake? Lake One. And I see these blue eyes going up and down, up and down. I'm watching just run. I'm looking like, what in the hell has blue eyes? I'm tripping. So I go in the house and I come back. I go in the house, come back out about an hour later, and I see these blue eyes again going back up the trail. I'm looking like them blue eyes is about 7.5 to 8 feet off the ground, going
That's
up and
crazy.
down.
And this
What
was
the
eye
hell?
shine, blue eye shine.
Yeah. I'm looking like, what is this? So I get on. I said, I don't see damn near everything, but I have never seen none with blue eye shine. So I'm like, I get on Google, YouTube. I see this Reddit. So I'm like, nah, y'all get some yonder, be the creep. I ain't dealing with Reddit. So they didn't look like they were right. They were lost in the sauce.
So that was what initially led you to
Yeah,
call.
and
But
I
what he
saw
was
you on
referencing,
YouTube.
right? What he was referencing is, I guess, when he called, I was in a
Hmm.
sour mood, and a very rare sour mood or something. I don't know, but
I'm saying
apparently,
hello. I introduced myself. I gave my whole name. Hi, I'm Stephen Benjamin. I have a question for you. Why? Because you heard me on YouTube, you think I'm black and I'm the Messiah and I know every damn thing about these crypts. No. Oh, you're black? Wow, I'm black too. But that's not the problem though. Man, I got something on my property. I don't know what it is. Please help me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rada, rada, rada. Libbity, bibbity. I'm like,
but you did say something that was pertinent that made me, because I mean, you have to think back, that was probably my second. That was my second year,
yeah.
and experienced big growth, and there wasn't a lot of people out there that were willing to give real information to
And I
help
wasn't
anyone.
fame chasing or nothing. I just want to know what was really going on back there.
Right. Yeah, you weren't seeking them out to get a YouTube channel or anything like that. That, and there's a
Which you
certain group.
encouraged me to do back then, but I had one person who downplayed me and I never did it. Now, anybody, if you want to do so, just do it. Don't let nobody downplay you. Do what your heart takes to do. And you got good people like D Dolls and Big Homie supporting you,
Well, I
do
appreciate that.
it. Don't be afraid. Because this
Yeah,
dude's a savage.
I appreciate it, and just pray, and the Lord, pray the Lord blesses your endeavor. But there was a certain Bigfoot organization that came out,
Oh God.
and I don't know if you want to mention that, but
Yep.
that's what really compelled me. That's what honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I ever told you. That's what pissed me off, that they would come out there and leave the way that they did and just make the problem worse. But
They aggravated the whole situation. Got little pictures, trail cams, the balls out there to record the sound. They aggravated them things to no intent, but they came to me to let me know they were pissed off. They took it up with me like I was the resident, like I was the senator of the four lakes in the property. Like, hey man, we appreciate what you did, so we finna come talk to you about it. We finna come see you about this. And they came and saw me about it.
yeah, and see, that's the and it's unfortunate, and I don't think it's intentional, but when some of these groups come to these properties that are inundated with these various different cryptids, a lot of times it makes the situation worse because they'll encroach more than the residents in the area that they're inundating will encroach, and it makes them uncomfortable, and they have to exert theirs to say, hey, like if you make your presence known where we live, I'm gonna make my presence known where you live. And it's a rough deal, and I didn't want you to go through that. I know you had a young family, and again, nobody should have to go through it.
And I didn't know anything about the repercussions and consequences, but my grandmama warned me about it. But I forgot all about that though. But I was one of the lucky ones. But you know, there's a whole lot of people out there that weren't lucky that you don't hear you heard the stories, some stories about them, but you heard a lot of the stories that not have been told about these people. I was
Yeah.
the lucky one that did nothing bad happen to me.
Speaking of stories that haven't been untold, because you've only told me this once,
Yes, sir.
and it's not cryptids, but I just want to jump into it because I remember it being madness. DB Cooper.
My dad.
Yes. Is there any way that you can scoot a little bit closer to the mic? Can everybody hear okay?
Can you hear me? Microphone check.
It sounds like kind of hollow. I can hear you. Folks, drop a one if you can hear. But yeah, so the DB Cooper story, for all who don't know, he successfully robbed a bank, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and then jumped out of an airplane to never be seen again. Oh, you there?
Do I sound a little bit better now?
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. It's a lot more clear.
Okay.
So yeah, you take it from there, sir.
So my dad was stationed out there in Washington State, and they sent his troop out there to go investigate and detain him or whatever so may have you. So he went out there, and my dad, being the young black man he was from Jersey, they was out there. They saw all these bags of money, $100 bills just covered in blood, so they started snatching them until they heard them screams and hoops and started getting rocks thrown at them. They never recovered the body, but they recovered some money, and they just got all kind of. They got bombarded, so they had to shoot their way out. And when they got back to the base, and my dad, he was one of them knuckleheads, so they put them on the south end of the base, and that's where the Bigfoots would come, and they had to go out there and do the floodlights back and forth, and they would throw boulders, rocks, trees, and try to infiltrate the base there. And they had this shoot, 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 throw grenades out there all night long till they went back. But this went on every night, and he was pretty cool about it till I went down to his house one day, and he actually talked to me about it. And I got this whistle that aggravates them. It's like a call out. And I did that whistle to his house, and they came up to his house. He had a family there too,
Like a family unit.
yeah, and they end up, and him, his girlfriend, and three stepdaughters. They end up moving from their house because
Wow.
they came and never stopped coming.
Yeah, and see that's why I encourage people to nip it in the bud. These things understand boundaries. They understand thresholds, spiritual and physical.
Hmm.
So that when they started just when they initially started encroaching, I'd do everything in my power to push them back, because we have dominion on the earth, not them. But DB Cooper, so he parachuted, and I'm sorry, I said he robbed a bank. I guess he robbed an airplane. I knew he jumped out of the plane, but it's been a while since I looked into that. But so he parachuted into this army base.
He robbed the bank and he hijacked the plane.
All right, that's what I thought. But so when he jumped out of the plane, he landed and I don't know if you can tell the base or not, but he landed in this army base where Sasquatch lived on the back end. Is what you're saying, right? Oh, do we lose him?
Yes, no, you didn't lose me. Yes, I was just on mute. Yes.
No, no, you're good. So I'm guessing like as he parachuted in, because I've heard credible stories of
All
other
kind of
army
different
bases.
stories.
Yeah, where they're throwing stuff out of helicopters, like turkeys and stuff out of helicopters, and a whole deer, so they won't encroach further into the base.
Yeah, they was out there giving the business on that south end of that base though. Now they was trying to come in, so they gave them the business. Mortars, hand grenades,
Oh, they're
machine
shooting
guns.
mortars at them,
Yeah.
and they kept fighting them, just throwing rocks.
Rocks, trees, and running in.
That's wild. So when you were a kid, so what was your, let's back up. What was your first experience with any kind of cryptid?
My first experience was we was in this old shotgun house down in the country of Georgia, about 30, 40 miles south of me now. And but back then they didn't lock the doors, you didn't lock your cars. You had your regular, your neighborhood cat burglar, but everybody knew who he was. So, but you weren't worried about him because he knew who houses to rob and who houses not to rob.
Your neighborhood cat burglar?
Yeah, your neighborhood cat burglar.
I don't think we had a neighborhood cat burglar.
Yeah, we had one. His name was Peanut, and that's the only thing I ever knew his name was. That's Peanut. Growing up, I never knew what his real name was.
Is it a fishing cat burglar? He didn't leave any kind of um, personal identification or names or anything around.
Mm-mm. But everybody knew who he was because he'd go to the neighborhood pawn shop and pawn your stuff, and they'd call you, come get your stuff back.
Wow. So he was a scumbag.
Yeah, he was a scumbag. One of the early people who was on drugs.
There you go. When the real heavy duty, that hard medicine hit the streets,
Yeah,
sad
that
deal. But
crack.
so you're in this house
And I've
when
been
you're a
listening
little
to my
kid.
grandmama tell me all about these boogeyman stories and the booger bear, and don't go outside when it get dark. So I'm like, okay. So I'm not trying to go outside when it get dark. So I was in my room. But back then, they tell you go to your room and lay down. If you don't go to sleep, you just lay there in the bed with your eyes open. And you might try to read your little book with a little light or whatever. So one night these eyes come into my room. I'm like, oh Jesus, what is this? And
What did the eyes look like?
they were white
Like
and
glowing white?
yeah, glowing white. And it was a unit of four. You could tell one was the dad, one was the mother, and two children. And I was scared. So I would pull the cover over my head. They would poke me, rub my head up under the blanket, and blah, 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 blah. And they did this a couple times a week. And then I started getting a little used to them. And then that last time, one poked me in my stomach. And I kicked. And I kicked the mama in the stomach, and all the eyes turned red.
Wow. Yeah.
And they was looking at me like, I said, oh God, I'm sorry. I jumped up, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And one shook his head. The dad shook his head, and they just backed out. He was the last one to back out. He was shaking his head, and that was the last time they came in my room.
So they were just watching you.
Yeah.
And this is a question I don't know if I've asked you before, but I ask everybody who's in this
Hmm.
subject or who's experienced these things. Do
Yeah, they
you
never did
think
nothing malice to me or anything.
so? And I have my theories on why they may have been just checking you out, but and fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Hmm.
Like you're one of those rare onegs, such as myself.
Right.
And but anyways, I don't want to get into that there. I have a question. Do you think that their eyes are bioluminescent?
I really truly believe that because, like my brother, if I can ever get him to come on the show, he did a little bit more than I did now. Now he lives up in Nashville right now, but when we was little, and like I told you before, back in about 2016, 17, I was just a really foolish child because we went out in the woods and we played with the younger Bigfoots.
What?
Yeah, we played with their little ugly ass. I mean, yeah, we played with them, and that's why I
Well, wait a
told you,
minute. Slow down. When you say play, you played with them. Like they
Rouse,
allowed you to see them and all that stuff.
yeah, wrestled, tumbled. They
Wrestle.
was yeah, they were strong. We sat with them, and they would come sit with us. And when we went and got plums, crab apples, we shared with them. We were told to
Wow.
live and let live. So we shared
Yeah.
with them.
So I mean,
And
the parents had to be accepting of that. I mean,
oh, they were sitting. Oh, they were sitting about 10 yards away, looking at you now. And if they saw the children getting a little too rough, they would stand up, or they would hold their hand out, and they knew to calm down some now. But
so that's fast. I don't remember that. Like I don't remember you telling me that. So let's. I want to dissect this for a minute.
let's
You caught
dissect.
me with 1 foot off the merry-go-round, brother.
Because that was
Um,
over there by where we moved from that area to the new area. I told you that was over there by that area that I wanted to go back to, where they had that what did I call it? Their little civilization, their little camp that was in that almost dried up riverbed. I told you they put the
mm,
pine trees on top of it.
yes, yes.
And I want to go back there one more time in my life before I leave this earth. But I'm not going there without a well-armed group now that I'm older.
Well, yeah. Then and really, my thoughts on that. I mean, the
Yeah,
firearms that we have with us are pacifiers at best.
just leave it. Just leave it alone. Because you've
Yeah,
been
because
there, you made it back.
yeah, they move way too swiftly and quietly for their size.
Hmm.
But it there's
It
that's
was
a lot. So the little kids, all right, the you wrestle with them. What did they look like?
little
Like were
hairy
they hair
children.
covered and like
Yeah,
just did
little
it feel
hairy
like
children.
hair or fur?
Yeah, both. It felt like fur. To me, it felt like fur. But it looked like hair, but it felt like fur, like baby Wookiees. Oh well, not baby Wookiees, but more like Ewoks.
Did you
With a little bit.
communicate with them in any kind of way, or did they try to communicate with you?
I spoke to them, and the parents understood because they would look and they shake their head or nod their heads and stuff, but nothing ever got out of control. Nothing ever got out of hand.
Wow. So like initially, like say it's your first time
Oh yeah,
going out
and
there
then
and seeing them.
we used to throw rocks at each other, by the power line by my grandma. Because my grandma had a clothesline. I don't know if people understand what the clothesline is. Where you used to, when you wash your clothes, you would hang them on the clothesline to dry. That was right there at the beginning of the power line.
Right.
And when the trees started growing back, we would throw rocks at each other back and forth, and pine cones and china berries. I don't know if people know what a china berry is. Those little red berries that be on the trees, like during Christmas time.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we
It,
just
it
used. I was
so
like,
the
boy, I think
oh, go
about
ahead.
it
I'm
back
sorry.
then. I think about it now. I said, boy, I went full retard back then. You didn't know
Yeah,
as a
that's
child.
crazy. Like even the little ones,
Hmm.
when they were around, there was still this weird, uncomfortable feeling that they seem to admit. Like when you initially, like, what was the first time you see these? You go out there with your cousin, was it?
No, my brother, the one up in
Your brother. I'm
Nashville.
sorry. You go out there.
Hmm.
What's the first like? You've seen them in your room already, but
Yeah.
what was the ingratiating period? What made you like say, hey, I'm gonna? I mean, these are all right. How old were you again?
I probably had to been around about 6, 7 years old. Because I was out there trying to build a fort. out the pine trees that the power line had, knocked down.
Yeah.
And they popped out, and one brought me a limb. I said, "Oh, Jesus! Oh, you helping me? Well, thank you. Let's build this tree for it, and
They
don't
helped you
eat
build the
me."
tree fort?
Yeah,
So they just
well,
walk up on you like they're the regular kids.
yeah. And then we
Was
just started playing together.
so it was non-confrontational right off the rip.
Non-confrontational. I took my matchboxes out there.
Oh
Them little
wow.
balls you used to get from the grocery store from like Big Star. I don't know if people know what Big Star is. We had Big Stars here in Georgia. They used to have those little balls in the grocery store in the aisle. You could get the little solid ones or the big rubbery field air
Oh
filled
yeah,
ones.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like like Rocky used to carry around in that Rocky
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. And and I was a single child back then, so on them country roads, my nearest neighbor was about 5 miles away. So that was somebody for me to play with. I was lonely back then, so why not?
Yeah, I mean that's what that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like so they weren't scary or anything. Like
Mm-mm.
I mean because they look different than us. Their eyes are
Yeah.
farther apart. That like you weren't frightened at that at all? That they look crazy?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
They're
Because
just
no, because I grew up watching, sci-fi movies and stuff with my grandmama, and she used to tell me, if you see it on TV, it's real. That's just their way of letting you know this stuff is real. So don't never be shocked about what you see, and don't run from nothing in the woods.
yeah. That's what I was taught at an early age as well. Don't run from anything or anyone.
Mm-mm.
Uh, that's fascinating. I vaguely remember you mentioning something about it, but I don't know
Yeah,
why I
that
would
was a
expand.
yeah, that was a long time when we talked. That was about 2016, 17. We talked about that back then.
That's wild though. Like, so how long did this go on that you were like playing with these
That went
Sasquatch you know?
on for about 5 years until these people,
5 years?
yeah,
Like,
until
like
the
every like every weekend or every day or
every day, except for when it rained, because we couldn't go outside when I couldn't go outside when it rained, because mama them back then they say they don't want you outside or tracking no mud in nobody's house, and if it was lightning, then it was the Lord work, so you had to sit down when the Lord was working. So
right. That's man, that's it's not very often. I'm
mm-mm.
speechless. I'm just bro, that scrambled my eggs there for a second. And I can tell you, man, like from going out to the family farm in Arkansas, I didn't know exactly what they were. They call them the catamounts, but the sound like women screaming and weird
Mm-hmm.
monkey noises, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have seen one of them things, I would have done my impression of Jesse Owens. Not run hell. I would run back to the farmhouse and not tell my uncles all about it. And that's what I think. But I mean, I don't know. Like I hadn't been in that position as a 6 year old. We have a whole lot more innocence and
Yeah,
a whole lot less
especially
judgment.
especially back then. It ain't
Yeah.
like now. So the whole reason why I stopped was these guys came and asked my mama permission to hunt on her property. We had about 100 acres back then before she sold it all. You might have told you about the store where they put up those tree stands and those blinds, and they had a trail out there.
Yeah.
And I told you how they wrecked that camper and they destroyed those. They had some nice tents out there. I used to go out there and sit in them. They left the
Well,
pot.
tell it from the beginning. It's been a while, and there's a lot of subscribers that I did probably won't know what we're referencing from that old one.
Okay, so my these hunters asked my mama could they go out there hunt on her property. My mama said sure. She's old probably purebred, and they went out there hunting and shooting. You would just hear 'em, pow, 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 pow. Like they going to war out there. Grandma said, "Baby, sit down. Come in the house and sit down, because they're out there being foolish right now. So we don't want to get caught up in that." I said, "Okay, Grandma." She said, "And do not take your behind out there in the woods. No time soon right now. I mean it." So I did, okay, Grandmama. And it went out there all deer season. And so when things calmed down, there was two putwood trails. one on the right side by the railroad track, going down the hill by the river, and this little pond on the left, and a river that went up on the railroad track on the right. And there was a railroad, and then there was another putwood track that was on the left of the property that went out there, and that's where they put that little silver camper at. I
And they
went
tore
out
that up.
there, they flipped that sucker over and beat it down like it was some aluminum foil.
That sounds about right. If they don't want you in the area and you don't belong in the area, they got their ways of getting you out.
Yeah, and those tents was shredded. Them tree stands, whether they was the mechanical ones or they were the wooden ones that they just built out of old lumber, they destroyed those. They were just barely hanging by a nail or whatever. They destroyed that, and them people never came back hunting again. So I started bringing back the pots, the pans, the rifles and stuff. My grandma said, "Boy, take that back where you got it from. Don't bring that in this yard. We don't want that sit in our yard." I'm like, "What's it? Take it back." So I was like, I thought I was Indiana Jones or trying to get us to come up, you know. So I took
Yeah.
it back. And there was an old moonshine distillery back there. They destroyed that sucker too. They
they
told,
tore up the moonshine, the steel.
yeah, they ripped that sucker to shreds.
I wonder why they did. I mean, you figure they'd want a little snort of some good corn liquor too.
Oh, now they love corn mash now. I shouldn't be telling
I've
people
heard
this
that.
stuff because some people go out there and do something retarded, but they love corn mash. They love corn mash because
I think they love their probably their privacy and discretion a whole lot more
mm-hmm,
though. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds
yeah,
like.
because like my grandmama and my great uncle, when they had their little moonshine distillery, they would always put a barrel or corn mash out there. Like, "Oh, why y'all doing that for?" Baby, live, let live. That's all I'm gonna tell you now. Just listen to what I'm telling you. And they would leave a barrel of corn mash out there, and you come back about a couple of days later, that thing was empty.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would be too keen on giving them things liquor myself. Because you know they again they do follow these certain self-imposed rules and stuff. But
Uh,
liquor
Steve,
lowered your inhibitions.
uh, Steve Wolf asked a question. Was I a guest 2 or 3 months ago? No, sir.
Yeah, you were. No, it's been a
Was you
little
on
bit
that?
longer. It's been
Yeah,
longer than 2 or 3
yeah,
months. Yeah,
yeah. It
it's
was
been a
longer
little
than
while
that.
ago. It's been about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a
Yeah,
good
we
time
did
back then.
we did a couple of shows, and
Mm-hmm.
it just I mean it's so expansive. Um, your experiences and stuff. We didn't get into your military career or the stuff you learned there. What all you can share? Because I know
Yes,
like
Steve
there's a lot.
Wolf. I'm that same veteran gentleman. Well, don't call me. I am not a gentleman.
I don't know what he's talking about there, but
Yeah,
uh,
I'm just a regular old
just old
friendly
Georgia
neighborhood
boy,
Spider
just like I'm an
Man.
old Oklahoma boy.
Yeah, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider Man. That's all.
Spider Man,
J-
listen at you.
Jane Jonah Jameson, he hates me, you know, but I'm still here.
Change on the Jameson. Anyways, you, well, I know you can't get into a whole lot of the Freemason stuff, but on a scale of 1 to 10,
Okay.
because 32nd degree is pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Like the knowledge you had coming in, as opposed to the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge you had afterwards. If you
Mm-hmm.
have to put that on a scale, like, is there? I'll just plain out ask: is there really hidden knowledge that's not out there for public consumption?
From beginning to the bottom. I mean from the bottom to the
Yeah,
top.
from the first degree to the 32nd.
30 degrees way. First 3 degrees. It depends on who in there with you. And I'm pretty sure there's some folks here like, don't you tell it. Public
Well, I mean,
mic, but
all that you can. I know you can't tell.
but you get your meats and but you get your meats and your potatoes and your vegetables on the first 3 degree. Everything else is just fluff and puff.
So a lot of this whole Freemason stuff, that
Illuminati,
well,
fluff and
Illuminati's
puff.
different than Freemasons, right? Or is that a part?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's different.
Yeah, because that was the whole divide, and I forget where the quote came from, but they were saying how the American Freemasons weren't, I guess, as they didn't go as hard in the paint, to paraphrase, as the illuminated ones from Europe.
But okay, let me put it like this, 'cause this is public knowledge. If you go to a courthouse, the courthouse is set up the exact same way as a Masonic lodge is. The exact
Wow.
same way. There is no difference between it. So the judicial system and the United States was built off of masonry, but they don't kind of went to the right on that. So it's just like it's ancient history now. The Constitution, okay, masonry has a constitution. Every lodge has a constitution and bylaws. Every state has a supreme constitution and bylaws, which they have to adhere to, just and they did that with the United States. The United States has a supreme constitution and bylaws, and every state has their own constitution and bylaws. I don't know if everybody knows, but your state has a constitution and bylaws. Every state has a constitution, but it has to coincide with the supreme Big Daddy's bylaws and constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America. And if you go outside the box, then that's when the Supreme Court is going to say, you can't do that. It's just like, I hate to use this as an example. Like the people trying to say, we don't want Trump on the ballot. And they're trying to exercise their state rules and right to regulate and govern themselves accordingly, but they're not regulating and govern themselves accordingly. So if it goes to the Supreme Court, Big Dad's gonna say, you can't do that. Throw it out. Bye. Be gone. Get some
Yeah.
yonder. So you
You
can
can't bring a conflict to what's already in place.
right. So you have to abide by the Constitution of the United States of America and its bylaws. It's just like there's a lot of people in here. I break it down a little bit further. Some of you people live in subdivision that have an HOA. And your HOA has a bylaw and it has constitution and bylaws in there. They give you a copy of it and they'll show you where your dues are going to, because just like in masonry, you have to pay dues and your dues go to pay for A, B, C, and D. And your HOA, you have to pay dues. And like, if I send you a picture, can you put this picture on the screen?
Yeah, just shoot it to me in an email. I can throw it up.
Okay. It's just like we just got a picture from my HOA. And it's bunk. It's bunk. And of course, just like in masonry and in the United States, there's a president, vice president, there's a secretary, there's a treasurer, and you have all these other set members that's in there. Everything in the United States of America function off of masonry.
Wow,
So
that's a big statement, bro.
I mean,
Eh,
it's a fact.
So like, so let's unpack that.
Hmm.
Everything in the United States is what from Freemasonry?
It's based off Freemasonry.
It's
So
based off of
whatever,
Freemason. Freemasonic
well,
like rituals.
yeah, rituals, the bylaws, the Constitution.
So it because it did exist in England and Europe where the settlers and our
That's
founding
that's
fathers
what
came from.
that's where we got it from. It's just like, okay, let's go another step further. Um, I don't want to offend nobody, so I'm gonna try to say it as nicely as possible. Everybody heard of Prince Hall Masonry? Maybe, maybe not. That's
Yeah,
what they
Prince Hall. I was
call.
under the Prince Hall Masons when I was when I was a one of the Knights of Pythagoras.
So back in those days, they called it Negro Masonry because Prince Hall was just light enough to get a charter from the Queen of England at that time. But by Masonic rights and laws, a woman cannot confer a degree or give a man a charter. Only a man can give another man, can confer a degree or grant them a charter.
So he was an unofficial Mason then.
Right, but that's one of the biggest debates and debacle that's going on around in history. They're still debating on, they're still going to court, blah, 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 blah. But but he was just light enough to get a charter from the Queen of England. So she conferred him the right to start creating Masonic lodges. And so they was back during, back during the Civil War, and they had the slaves, they were Prince Hall Masons that fought in the army.
Excuse me. Yeah,
But
that's fascinating to me. I'm a
but when
big
the
nerd
Prince
of
Hall,
history.
but then when the Scottish Rite Masons, which were the White Masons, would show them their past master ring or their blue house ring, then Prince Howard had to bow down to them. But
Even though he was the 33rd degree.
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like this. I can get to a whole lot about Prince Howard Mason, but I'm not. But we're gonna keep it going on this level here. It's just like I'm a Scottish Rite Mason, but in my eyes, we all go through the same thing to achieve this goal to this level. So I don't care if you're York Rite, Scottish Rite, ancient, free, and accepted. We're all brothers. Black, white, blue, purple, yellow, green. We're all brothers. We do this for the community. You pay to be a Mason. You don't do it to get a paycheck or to get rights and privileges and stuff like that. You do this because you want to help your community. You want to help your friends, family. It's a brotherhood, and of course, it's a sisterhood because that's why they created
The
Eastern
Eastern Star.
Stars.
Yeah.
Eastern Stars was a chapter that was created for the orphans and widows of Masons to give them something to do, and they had the Masons to put protection on them to make sure when nobody try to take advantage of them or do them wrong.
Right. And so all the controversy surrounding Freemasonry, because nobody really
Mhm.
knows, because they're the most secretive organization in the world. That's all a bunch of fluff and
Yeah,
and
it's not a secret organization, it's just an organization of secrets because it's just like Coca-Cola. You everybody drink a Coca-Cola or Pepsi product, but you can't go up to Coca-Cola. Hey man, I drink your Coke Zero. What's the formula? Man, be the creep, get some yonder.
yeah, I got you.
You have to be entitled to the same as I am, just like you went and you became a journalist.
Right.
But then, you got Cletus down the street. He telling he a journalist. He be like, well, what college you went to? Oh shoot, I ain't went to no college. I'm doing it because I can. And you look at him like, man, you don't man, get out
Yeah,
of here
but
with that.
yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I do, but like to be an official journalist, and you're right. There you do have to, as the old schooler said, pay your dues.
Yeah.
Going to school for journalism as opposed to not. Like I would still consider myself a journalist because I wrote for a magazine when I was like 14 years old, and but I do understand what you mean. If I was a 15-year-old seeing this 14-year-old who didn't have the proper, I guess, education to do that task, yet he was being treated the same, and here I've gone through all these classes that I've had to pay for and blah blah blah. I can understand that.
Right. And just like Aaron Billen just made us he just put a statement out. Most of the founding fathers were Masons. Yes, they were. They all on your money.
Like 80 something percent, wasn't it?
Yeah. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and here's another because I had this one guy. He just thought Masons and the Eastern Stars were holier than thou. We're just normal people. Make mistakes. They cuss. They drink. Some are Baptists. Some are Christians. You have to believe in a power that's above. You got basically, you got to believe in God. Or now, since people are so sensitive, you have to believe in a higher power or being before you can become a Mason. You cannot be agnostic. Becoming, you can't believe in old Stitch and think you're gonna become a Mason. That's not gonna happen.
Really?
Yeah, no, no, because you can't be a believing old Stitch and want to come up in there because the majority of Masonry comes from Grandmama's Bible. Well, I'm gonna say 90% of it comes from Grandmama Bible. That's why
Yeah,
when
I mean, it's
people,
Temple.
go to they go to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, you can buy the ritual, you can read it all day long, but you're not going to understand what you're reading. You had to be taught to what you're reading. Then if you don't know your Bible, just like you made a example last night when you was talking about the measurement from your pointer finger to your elbow.
Yeah, the Egyptian cubit.
Hmm. And so we have those references because cubits, baths, and people are like, what is a bath? It's
Yeah,
a
the
measurement.
scriptural measurements and weights and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, measurement of water.
And like my dad was a Freemason, and so was my his dad, my grandfather.
Hmm. They were great
And
men.
I appreciate that. I never knew about any of the devil stuff until like when I got older. And then I started looking. I was like, man, my granddaddy and daddy both went to church. Like they're
Yes.
Christians. I didn't understand it, but is there
And
or
they
have you
walked
heard?
around upright,
Yeah, exactly.
proud, and then nobody want no smoke from them
Yeah, that's true. At all. But
because you
that's
were taught to write upright as a man and to walk upright also as a man, but you got to walk upright in front of God and in front of your neighbors, friends, and family. You can't be no slouch to be no Mason. You're a warrior for your neighborhood, for your friends and family.
right. And so like, and that's why I was excited that you get into it because a lot of stuff is and I don't believe in the word conspiracy theory. I think that conspiracy theorists are just abstract thinkers. They're not thinking or coloring in the lines. They can make a beautiful picture, one that's coherent, while looking outside those lines. And a lot of times, I can't name you the amount of conspiracies that were true. The JFK conspiracy, um, the magic bullet.
Okay, speaking of a magic bullet, I just got a nice question here. Does he know what the warrior on the block right is? What's the block right there, buddy? Please tell
I
me.
I
Well, you
don't I
know
don't
what?
know.
I'm gonna do like you did. We're gonna keep it pushing. But
I know what
okay,
he's
go ahead.
talking about, and if I could, like I from my minimal knowledge on this, I have Albert Pike's book right over here on my bookshelf.
Oh, we all Albert Pike book. That's one of them books you can get at Barnes and Nobles. And like I
Yeah,
said, that's
yeah.
one of them books. But does he know who Albert Pike was?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he knows and what he don't, bro.
Tell him to type in what Albert Pike was. Who was Albert Pike? Who was he? It was a great book. We read it in Masonry, but just ask him who was Albert Pike really was. He belonged to a boys' club. It wasn't Masonry.
Was it?
No.
Well, he was a 33rd degree Mason. They say
Ask him who Robert
it,
Pike belonged to. What was his boys' club?
the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he started the Ku Klux Klan. Him and Nathan Bedford Forrest and
Yeah.
a couple more Confederate generals. I think he was a brigadier general. I
But
may
he
be
was a
wrong in that.
but he was a brilliant man. He wrote a good
Yeah,
book. It was full of knowledge. So yes, we used that book in Prince Hall and in Scottish Rite on the Black Side Masonry. Yes, we read that book. We used it for knowledge.
but see, they're like I've that in that book's. I mean, it's all a bunch of like poetic.
Right, because we're
To me,
not
it's a bunch of
again.
poetic madness. I couldn't.
Right,
And a lot
because
of it is, he references God Jehovah.
mm-hmm,
Like I call him God Jehovah. That's what
yeah,
my KJV calls.
right. It's
Um,
like I said, we're not perfect. We're just men. They consider Masons consider all of us rough ashlers. Once you live your life, you get smoothed out so you can become a smooth ashlar to be put in that building to fit to build a better building, a temple for God in heaven.
that's a question I had. Like, so when you get to
Yes.
certain degrees, when you get to the 32nd degree, you're allowed to join another fraternity, like the Shriners and all that.
Oh, you can do that way before that
Oh,
because
can you?
yeah. Well, it depends on your lodge and your people because I became a third, second degree Mason Okay, let's put it like this: rank privilege goes a long way in popularity. I was an up young member. I was out there doing um traveling. I was doing all these fundraisers. I was out there helping with the homeless, the children's shelter, the old folks shelter. I was out there getting it. So I was allowed to come in as a first, second degree on my second year. Now there's
Wow.
steps. There's steps you had to go through. You gotta go through 1, 2, and 3 to become a master mason. Then there's the red house. Then there's Knights Templars. Then there's all these other degrees you gotta get in there and get till you get to your third, second degree. I obtained my third, second degree, and I had to go back later to get my red house, royal arc, and my Knights Templars, which I did not enjoy that. But then I became a Shriner before I got my Knights Templars and my royal. Yeah, before I got my Knights Templars and my royal arc, and
The
I
question I had was I'm sorry. Go
mhm.
ahead.
And I did that. I was all out of order, because people like me, they was trying to. I was in the Grand of Georgia. They was trying to get me in the Grand Supreme of Georgia, but that requires you to spend more time, more money, more traveling. And then once I became a family man, I couldn't neglect my family because your obligation is you're supposed to give utmost praise and honor to your God, your family, your neighbor, your work, and yourself last.
So there is one. I guess it would be an offshoot from the Scottish Rite or the Freemasons, like the Shriners, called the Odd Fellows. And
Hmm.
there was two things. I had another thing about Albert Pike. I'll put that in my back pocket. Um, I heard a lot of crazy stuff about the Odd Fellows. So is there like a uh do you think there could be, and I know like that you can only talk about it so much, like is there a possibility that there is some sort of a group within the Freemasons that are on some esoteric type stuff?
No, you got groups that try to affiliate themselves with it, just like you got Nuwabians. They tried to make a Masonic rite. And you got everybody out there trying to make an organization, but they're not all recognized and given the same right as given to me and tied to me or myself.
I see what you're
Anybody can
saying.
make up a group. Even the Nuwabians made a Masonic rite and stuff. And you can go in there and pay a couple of dollars, and you can become a 33rd Mason in a week. But we consider that clandestine.
That's it, the clandestine.
Hmm.
So the main Freemasonic hall, they look down on the clandestine groups.
Yes. Yeah, we did not recognize them.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
like, okay,
and
so like the Odd Fellows, like,
mhm.
because they're always it's always some weird stuff going on with them, and they were Odd Fellows, like, or is that just because I don't know, I didn't get far enough to know what's smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean?
Steve Wolf, you're my favorite too. I like you too, fella.
Steve Wolf's a great guy,
Hmm.
but and the question I had about Albert Pike
Hmm.
is his letter to Mazzini, in the Illuminati. So he was a Freemason, but he was he under the auspices of being a Freemason? Was he, because Freemasons and the Illuminati had nothing to do with one another. I'm pretty sure
No,
they
it's just
outlawed.
like it's just like George Washington. He was a Freemason, but his family lineages put him as being one of the Star Childs.
Star Child. Now, his family lineage made him a Star Child. What does that mean?
He was one of the ones who I shouldn't be talking about that. He's one of the ones who the Ark. They was covenanted. They were keepers of the Ark.
Whoa, that's heavy duty. Shit, fire. Got me off.
Hmm.
It got me 1 foot off the merry-go-round again, my
Yeah,
friend.
fire shit.
Yeah, wow. So that makes sense because they deified. George Washington. If you go and look in the Capitol dome, you'll see what looks to be a Greek pantheon, but when you look closer, it's the founding fathers with George Washington in the middle as
Hmm.
the leader of that pantheon, and it's kind of ooky spooky to me. Um,
Because he was the worshiper master in that picture. He was the worshiper
oh,
master of that lodge in that picture.
but see, and they also had like
A
Benjamin
whole
Franklin
lot of
running lines across the ocean with Poseidon and stuff.
yeah, because he had his Hellfire Club. Like I
The
said,
Hellfire Club, I
all
forgot about that.
yeah, because like I said, they're all just normal people. We got to say in the mainstream, all people weren't raised right. Even though Benjamin Franklin was a Mason, but he had the Hellfire Club. He was running
He may have been a
drugs.
murderer too, bro.
He was a warmonger. He's one of the founding fathers of medicine for doing all those Dr. Kevorkian experiments back in the day.
And he was a little bit lost in the sauce, I think.
Yeah,
And
and they
they try
got
to
so
cover up
many
the fact.
bones and bodies
Yeah,
up in
a
his
bunch of
house. They
bones of
just
kids.
said, "Hey, let's leave it. We're not even gonna try to get them out no more. Just let it be."
Under his house that he stayed in France.
Hmm.
But they say that there was a
Ain't up there. Ain't up there in Philadelphia. He got so many bones up on his house right now. They just let it
in
be.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, they would not excavate. They got some out, but they just say it's just too many. Just let it be.
Wow. Well, I didn't hear that one,
Yeah,
bro.
because
I
remember
think
he
he was
used to
crazy.
pay. Because remember he used to pay people at the grave, henceforth grave robbers, to bring him. The fresher the corpse, the more money they gave him. The more money he gave them. The fresher the corpse, the more money he gave them, so he could do his experiments on his
But he wasn't
baby Dr.
experiments.
Kevorkian.
I said, well, see, that's I was about to say. He wasn't a surgeon or anything. What's he doing? Like, what kind of
Hey,
experiments is he trying to
baby
be
Dr.
Dr. Frankenstein?
Kevorkian. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, you know what? He did work with electricity, and it's a shame that he goes down in history. And a lot of the founding fathers are like deified in a way,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't holding no kite with no key. That man was smart. But he had this son that he had with a prostitute, but he loved him.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah, he
was the
had a
son
whole
that was
bunch
holding
of
the kite. Yeah, he had a bunch.
them people. Yeah. And if you can remember the old picture, you can see him standing in the background and his son holding the kite, and the lightning bolt hit the kite, and you can see the lightning the electricity going down the pipe towards the key. Finna zap his son. If you can even find one of them old pictures, I'm pretty sure
Bro,
Google don't
I've
delete
seen it.
all of them.
That's crazy how Google's getting rid of this stuff. But everybody's yielding to the fact that they say, oh, well, this is fake news and this is a conspiracy theory, but this isn't. And nobody's putting up
Right.
any kind of protest. Like, how about letting us decide for ourselves and praying? Because
Mm-hmm.
the Holy Spirit's the revealer of truth. He's the revealer of all truth. And that's a fact too. Like, I'll be reading something and he'll pull out what's actually pertinent.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate you sharing that with us. Now there's one that it's another one because again you've over the course of the years I've known you, like you still can pull back and so something that I haven't heard yet, but this one that's always fascinated me. When your dad was a military in the military police, and he
Mm-hmm.
was an investigator,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to and they saw a certain cryptid that's very rare to see, but I believe exists.
The Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil. Kirk Stokes, and I don't know why he took all his footage down, but Kirk Stokes had a video of what looked to be what was described as the Jersey Devil. So I mean, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this isn't a Jersey Devil. This is some sort of, and you know the story. The woman prayed to Satan when she was pregnant to save the kid or
Mm-hmm.
something, and here comes the Jersey Devil. But I think it is some sort of maybe Ben Franklin was doing some sort of weird Joseph Mengele type stuff.
Yeah. Dr. Kevorkian, but it's a whole bunch of them out there.
That's a
Whole
wicked thing.
bunch of them because just like they think it's just one Nessie. It ain't one Nessie over
No, there
all
couldn't
these
be.
years.
Yeah, there couldn't be just one.
Yeah. There's not one plesiosaur that's just been out there swimming since way back
Yeah,
when.
and it's immortal.
Yeah, it's immortal. It's an immortal being. It's just like, okay, I'll give you another example of how Google has distorted information. Now, for anybody who don't know, I was born in '74. So my mom, she married this guy, and he had a supervisor job right here where I'm at now in Peachtree City. He was the computer supervisor. So we talking about 88, 89. And so we had to get the internet to our house. So sometimes, he had to do a remote login. Yes, they did remote logins back then. One guy my ex-wife brother told me I was alive. There was no such thing as the internet back then. It was. So he would get on there and log in. And about my first year in high school,
Excuse me. Sorry.
bless you.
Goodness.
He had got this thing called AOL. You have mail. And we had a dot matrix printer.
I remember those.
So I was doing my homework. I was online. Well, I ain't gonna say I was online. Somebody was online doing their reports, just plagiarism they ass off. That person started getting A's and A plus and hundreds and all kind of stuff, because when you had to do a report in school, you had to give 3 references. You had to give them this book, this
Right.
magazine or publication where you got the information from. I wrote down I typed on there, I got this information from the internet. What they was gonna do back then. You type in the word now, you get over 300 million searches now. So back then, Google wasn't even a thing back then. It was Yahoo,
Right.
Lycos, AskGs, and all that stuff. So I got the information from Yahoo, AskGs, Lycos, Excite. Excite was the popular website. A lot of people don't believe this, but Google was the worst
I
website
remember
to go
that.
to get
Yeah.
information back then.
Yeah. It was garbage.
Yeah, it was pure garbage. So I'm just having a good time doing my reports. And I still got some of my reports and stuff. I got hundreds on in red ink. They were pissed, but they had to give it to me. They had to give me what was due. And he was like, the internet did come around to the early 2000s. And I asked this idiot, do you know when the internet was created and why it was created? It was created to help us have better life and get. No, it wasn't. The internet was created. It was the only form of communication that would survive if we would have had a nuclear war back then, or atomic war, nuclear atomic war back then. That was the only way we could have survived back then. But then they came up with these codes, which were divided by internet, this, that, another. So you had a class A IP address that went to Big Papa business. Class B, smaller business. Class C, smaller business. Class D, music, entertainment. E, entertainment. F, you just had just enough money to get your own internet IP address. And G was always for government. You could never get a Class G IP address. Class A was the biggest IP address that you could subnet it down to, where you can put a subnet to where you could apply an IP address to a printer, to a TV, to a phone, to a pencil, whatever you want to put an IP address to, you could put an IP address to it. Because back then they were daisy chaining stuff, and whoever had the most authority, they could send that network protocol to print or get access to the phone before Joe Schmo, who was number 103 on the employee roster. But now since they doing fiber optics and all this other stuff, so now everybody they can just shoot their
Yeah,
little
we're living the
packets
future.
through. Right. So back then you had a network protocol that you can only send your request to. It might have got bounced back. There's some people on here know what a network protocol is. Maybe, maybe
Oh no, I
not.
got some pretty smart eggs. I
You
bet they
sure
do.
do. So, it's just another thing. And he could not believe I had the internet back in 1989. I had the internet.
Wow,
And and that person was plagiarizing homework and all kind of stuff. But he graduated with a high GPA though. He sure
that's
did.
awesome.
God bless him.
So now you got to tell us
Hmm.
about your dad going
Hmm.
in that apartment building.
Oh
'Cause
man,
we
well,
kind of got segued off on the
yeah.
internet thing.
Okay, so I had just got out of work from Delta back then. I was sleeping in a well, I call it L-1011 because that's all it is for the military. It was the international plane off at who was that back then? Econ course back then. I was out there because the plane got an elevator, got two elevators on it. So I would go on the plane, go down to the galley, warm up me some food, and I would go back upstairs. I would sit upstairs and eat, watch some movies, and pass out to somebody call me on the radio, needing, needing a mechanic. Or sometimes I would just sleep down there in the belly of the plane. It didn't make me no difference. I was I had went full retard back then. And then he told me about that. He said they was out there. Let me see what year. That was back in the 60s when it happened. This damn I'm sorry, y'all. This Jersey Devil came in and ran into these people's houses and they called the police. The police came, the fire department came and see him back then. If you ever seen these old movies where they had the trampolines to help people jump out of fire, burning buildings, and so forth and so forth and so on, they had to put these big trampolines around this building, this family structure where that Jersey Devil went in. He done went in there and just slaughtered the whole family. And he said they went in there and it took them almost 2 hours to shoot and kill this Jersey Devil. He would not go down. And firefighters got killed.
2 hours
Yeah.
of just that's crazy.
Because it was a pretty big building. They was going in, firefighters got killed, police got killed, military members got killed. This thing was in there. He was bringing the heat now.
And so it's just going like from room to room on these people.
Room to room. It was one of them. Oh, you know how them houses, them buildings up there up north. They
Yeah,
two,
yeah,
three,
those
four stories and
row
stuff.
houses. Or I
Yeah,
don't know. You said it was an apartment, but it was like that, like a row
yeah.
house.
I call out them bird coops apartments. To me, that's all they are is apartments, row houses, and
Yeah,
brownstones and stuff. They did bird coops, so
bird juice.
they did bird coops. I don't know why anybody want to live in nothing like that, but hey, if you like it, I love it. But anyway, and when they finally killed it, it took like 10 of them to carry. They had to wrap it up in one of them smaller trampolines and they had to cover the body and it was just leaking this toxic looking blood out and they finally got it into an ambulance. They drove off and he never saw it again. And from that point on, that kind of changed my life because you remember back then I was going into them underground cities and things and
Yeah,
I said,
yeah. So
oh Jesus. And he
that's
told
that's
me
another
that,
one.
and
Underground
that's when
city. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's when he told me you need to stop sleeping in them planes out there at Delta because how you think they bring them in here? There's a lot of people that fly them animals in through them planes from Delta and Airlines. Eastern Airlines. You had to Google Eastern Airlines. They don't exist no more. But they were one of the big people who the proprietors was shipping in these exotic animals into the United States from all these different countries. And that's when I was like, I wish he would have told me this about 3 years ago when I was out there going through all these tunnels and stuff. And with just a maggot light in the headlight, no gun, pocket knife, and a Leatherman. That's it. I ain't have nothing to
And
fight
this
with.
thing's laying waste to people, and that's wild.
And I'm just walking all through here, 2, 3 hours one way, 2, 3 hours back one way every night, just trying to explore this stuff, trying to find that lost treasure of in that the Indiana Jones missed.
Yeah, you just hadn't discovered it yet to be searching for. You just wander. I used to wander like that too. Wander through the dead part of the city I live, and through all these old like mansions back in the early 1900s, and they're skeletons of that now, and some of them are still together. And I just like exploring. I didn't realize until later on the law calls that trespassing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on an adventure, there's no such thing as trespassing.
Mm-mm.
Just
But
ask
I
me my
tell you
first year
what,
going down to Brown Springs because I did cross some barbed wire.
but Big Homie did say that it is trespassing. I don't know if you remember when he said that. He said God set dominion for them things to be out where man never touched foot at, out there in the woods, fields, abandoned buildings, places where man never set foot. That's where they had dominion to be at instead of walking around in the presence of man.
Well,
So
yeah,
when
but
we
we
go
have
out
dominions over the
there,
beasts too.
right. So when we
We-
go out there now, we're setting foot in their set reason. So we call on the Lord and let them know, hey, I got the Lord on my
yeah,
side. Back up
I
now.
don't go
Be
anywhere
the
without.
creep.
Yeah, especially out there in the woods where these things are. I don't
Hmm.
like going to the grocery store without praying the Lord send His warring angels to accompany me. But and just from the spiritual warfare, bro, of the past, I'd say 3 4 years. It really will open your eyes to, and it's crazy. I was just talking to Merle about this. I think that's gonna be my first Bible study is spiritual dominion
Hmm.
and how
You should.
everything is connected to it. Everything is connected to it. Our dominion, what they have as dominion, the thresholds. I remember the first time I did a podcast and I started talking about my experiences in Brown Springs.
Hmm.
I talked about these thresholds and I was like, why am I even calling it that? But that emitted from my spirit because there
Right.
are spiritual thresholds that even the physical beasts, both natural and cryptid, cannot cross. That and they got some stuff going on with them too. I mean, it's
Right.
and I think that and this is a theory, and it's just just that a theory. The reason they hide from us, it's almost like a sign. It's almost like respect if they
Right.
show themselves to you without messing with you. But I
Hmm.
think the reason they hide is, they're not supposed to be in our presence. They know they're
Right.
not supposed to be messing with us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think they know they'll get their game smoked unless somebody is fallen outside the kingdom, or is not covered by the blood.
Right. You're
But
breaking the covenant, the
yeah,
agreement that was
exactly,
given.
exactly, and that's a contractual obligation with the Lord, and He's always going to
Hmm.
uphold His end. We're the ones that
Now,
break it.
now let's tell them how you saved my life twice. We know how we was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say I saved your life, but
Oh yeah, you saved my life.
well, I mean, if I could do just that, I'm doing something right. But yeah, we can
Oh,
talk about it if you want. You're
okay.
my guest.
All right. So now, me and old Dog's boss, we was throwing information back and forth, spirits and stuff. I had these 4 lakes that was over there on this property that was in Alice in Wonderland or Twilight Zone, and 2 lakes were their feeding grounds where they would go out there eat the mussels. 1, 2. The third lake is where they had it dammed up where they caught fish and turtles. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Fourth lake, I don't know what they even did that fourth lake. I never really got into that fourth lake too good, but the fifth lake that was between 1 and 2, that's where the nest was at, where they kept the babies and stuff at. Bigfoot and Dog Man, maybe Goat Man too. I'm not sure. I never went back there.
I think
You could
Goat Man
feel,
is something spiritual, bro. Like,
yeah.
I wish you still had that picture so I can show him. Folks, he had a picture of what he was
That was
calling
my
Goat
cam.
Man.
Yeah, my cam video.
Your tree cam, or not tree
Yeah,
cam, your
trail camera.
trail cam, yeah. This thing was a rank devil. I mean, when I saw it, that's the first thing popped in my mind. It looked like it would physically manifested. I was like, "Oh shit!" I mean, like it was looking right. It was looking right at that camera too. It must have heard the thing go off or something. I
Blinking,
don't know. Yeah, I
came
mean,
in, and
this
then
wasn't no
faded back into the
pareidolia,
darkness.
and that's what I'd say. But I think what people are calling these, and this is just my opinion, and I think there's scriptural and historical evidence to prove it, from the Greeks all the way down through there. But I think that those things are satyrs,
Mm-hmm.
like the Cernunnos, or what's the other name for him? He's the goat headed, or the goat, half goat, half body. He was in that Shakespeare play,
Yeah,
not Great Expectations, but the one that's real weird. But in any event, like,
playing the flute. I mean,
yeah,
well,
he
it
playing the
wasn't a
flute.
flute.
Yep,
The little three
the
thing.
yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that's a flute, or what they call it. But like Cernunnos, or
Mm-hmm.
his other Greek name, he's the Greek god of like sexual perversion
Mm-hmm.
and the forest. So he was there. He was there in their pantheon as being the god of the forest. And I always found that fascinating when people said they saw a goat man, and I'd ask them to describe them. They talk about horns and that. I mean, that's an abomination. God makes everything perfect after its own kind. I don't see something
Oh,
like
that
that
thing is an
being.
abomination.
Yeah, it's an abomination all day long.
I seen the family of them things is abomination from the way they run, go across the field, the way they leap and jump. That is a pure abomination.
Yeah, there's nothing natural, and more to the point,
No.
Pan. Thank you,
Yeah,
Zephaniah.
Pan. Thank
Pan
you,
is the
man.
other name of
Pan.
it. Or
They even had it
Cernunnos.
in Disney.
They had Pan in a Disney movie. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. One of them old Walt Disney cartoons back in the day, they had
That
Pan in
sounds
there.
about right though. Walt Disney was. Yeah, these folks are going to see when this.
And Walt Disney was a Mason for people who don't know that.
Yeah, Club 33.
Mm-hmm.
He was something else. He had a lot of stuff going. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's why he's the big bad in this film that's about to come out. But nevertheless, I'll tell you what. I heard your son's up. Are you up for a part two tomorrow?
Oh yeah. But hold on, before we go, let's go ahead and tell me how
Okay.
you saved my life.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
because
Yeah, I didn't
because
save your
we
life,
were
bro.
sitting there going back and forth about how people will see Bigfoot jump in the water and just disappear and never came back up. You was like, hey man, maybe they don't build some burrows up under the banks. I was like,
Yep.
I can I can go with that. So and then you know how people was talking about how Bigfoot just disappeared in the forest and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Rada
they
rada
just
rada.
vanished.
Yeah, so I came across. I was looking for these spots and stuff. I'm walking, tracking, and one day the lakes went down. We had a drought going on that year. I always have a drought in Georgia. So when I went up to the bank, and it was real low, it was about 5 feet low. So I hopped my silly butt off in there, trekking around the mud, and I seen these burrows, big burrows, and I politely hopped my butt. I didn't hop out. I had to pull myself back out. I said, so that's where they at. I said, bounce, bounce, hit that one on the head right there. I said, please don't let this thing grab me while I'm trying to get up out this. While I'm trying to get up out this lake. And I politely took my muddy butt. I went up there to this little wash station and rinsed myself off. And I took myself in the house and then come back out there to that area for about a week or two. But up there by the nest, it's all covered in pine straw, foliage, and trees. But you see these certain spots that just sand, and they look like giant ant lions was in there. And you were like, they're like or some people might know them as a doodle bug, but the real name is an ant lion. Doodle bug. And because the kids we used to drop the little. We were such mean kids back then. We would
Yeah, I
drop
did
the
the
little
same thing.
ants off into the
Yep.
little doodle bug, and they grab them, put them down. So them said cryptids had like little doodlebug, well not little but big doodlebug spots out there that was sad where they could have just slipped in, or they could have been waiting for somebody like me to walk by, step in and grab you by your leg, or what they was waiting for a deer or something to eat, and then snatch them in there. So
And is that how I saved your life? Because I put out that theory.
yes, and I
Well, bro,
politely
that's the only thing that
backtracked
made
my butt
sense.
up out of there, and I
Yeah,
never got that close again because I could have walked up on one that was covered by foliage and slipped in there and got snatched in.
absolutely. And you got to think they're building them on these riverbanks, like you said, all that pine
Yeah.
straw. They're building them near trees because the roots are going to hold up that topsoil. It's going to carry your weight, and it's going to probably sound like you're walking on the roof of a tin barn when you're underneath there in that hollow hole.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't care
Mm-hmm.
what they break on the way down.
Yeah,
You know what
like
I'm saying?
Zephaniah said, yeah, they right there. They're right there up under the riverbanks. I seen their burrows
Yes, and there's so many, and
and their
underwater
hollows.
coves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Yeah.
underwater coves open to the cave systems where they dwell.
Mm-hmm.
That
They got
and
good
there's a lot of
swimming.
tribes said that they drag them under. They'll grab them, and they told the kids not to swim in certain places
Mm-hmm.
because they grab their leg and hold them underwater until they drown.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they lived under the rivers, and that just kept echoing in my head. Under the rivers, what?
And
And
you told me that I was
yep.
looking around the riverbanks while they still got a little drought, and I saw burrows and hollows all down the riverbanks
And they
on
try
that
to cover them
scene.
up too. That's
Yeah.
the crazy thing. Like once you notice, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And
Mm-hmm.
the fresh dug grave looking stuff
Mm-hmm.
came out after rain, and you see the darker dirt that's been dug up on top, and it's sunken, and it's got like a little, what would you call it? Like it's raised above the ground, which
Mm-hmm.
looked like something was buried. And I
And
was
like
and
those blinds that you taught me to look
yes,
for, and I took out on pictures where these things was
that thing
building blinds,
all over the place.
yeah, by women, single women, women and their daughters, houses
Yep.
and apartments. They had blinds,
They're perverts,
right?
bro. I've always
Yeah,
said that these things are peeping toms. They're perverts.
right. But wherever there was a man solo at, there was not a blind there. Cause you remember I took those footprints when it snowed that time. They would walk past
Yeah.
where men lived at, but if there was a woman and some small children, you would see them stop and turn and look towards the window, and they would take off and walk, 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 and then they would stop and look in the windows where the women were at, or children and stuff.
And see, that's what I don't like, and over the years, many people call me afraid to, go out on their own property. The worst is now I lost contact with. It was a single mom who had three children, and two of them were very young, and she had one of these man dog creatures.
Ooh.
She couldn't go outside at night at all. This thing would chase her down, and it just terrorized her.
Mm-mm.
I don't even think it want to do anything except terrorize, and that's nefarious. There's no kind of like nefarious games like that being played with a wolf. If they're chasing you, they want your ass. You're done. So like
You know how I feel
that's
about them upright walking canines. Mm-mm.
yeah. Well, on the next episode, we can tell them how one was trying to
Mm-hmm.
court you, and
Oh God.
yeah, he was being courted by one of these man dog creatures. Is I guess you can call them natural. I use that for lack of a better word. I don't think it was manifested from hell or anything, but
Mm-mm.
and that's another thing. They fit. The reason I won't throw all my chips on the side of the table of these things just being Nephilim and period. That's all they are. They're fallen angels and stuff. Some are fallen angels though, and some are the offspring or the progeny of those fallen angels. There's no doubt in my mind. But some are some sort of a natural beast, and a big reason why I can't throw all my chips on that side of the table is because they fit perfectly order of the environments that they're in. It's not like they're laying waste to the population of one species or another. They're doing it all in it's a balance. And I've never talked about this publicly, and I hate to even say it now, but I'm already on that route. The people that are taken are, if you look at it in these national parks and things,
Mm-hmm.
they coincide perfectly with predation animals being taken by predators in any other environment.
Mm-hmm. Like the wild
It's
cougars attack, the wild bear attacks when people walking on
yes,
trails.
or even just how they hunt down their prey.
Mm-hmm. Through
It's
fear,
weird to
get them
me.
off the
It's
trail.
weird. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's weird to me because I don't know what their modus operandi is. How do they pick people that they take and don't? And that's another reason why, like, I may not be going heavy duty in the field. I'll still go out there, and when the Lord compels me, because He wants truth from this subject. I can guarantee you that. And
Because they should have smoked my game out there a long time ago when I was out there. Because I was
mine and
out
yours
there with
both.
them deep.
Yeah, and I mean, I showed you that footage of that young male. That thing was looking. He wasn't looking at me with any kind of reverence or awe or wonder. It was looking at me like it wanted to put a pop knot on my head, looked like a unicorn's horn.
Yeah, like that one you saved me from going to war with that little juvenile, that teenager who wanted to smoke about my puppy. Yeah, I was finna give him the business that
That
night.
thing
He
didn't
was
want no
finna get
smoke.
it.
I will tell. I'll relay that one
We'll
to
talk
you.
about that later because I want to give him
Yeah,
the
okay, yeah, we'll hit
business.
that on the next show. Suffice to say, his puppy wasn't harmed, but scared by this thing, and I called him. And it wasn't nothing but the Lord that had me call you, because you're out there marching around with the rifle. He was going to go
hmm
kill this dog man creature that scared his puppy.
That
He was mad
Bigfoot.
about it.
Yeah, I was gonna give him the bit. I was gonna give him the business.
And see, like, I'm glad he threw this up here. I read the Bible as is. I don't try. I not that I try to or not try. I don't add anything or subtract anything from it, because those men and that woman who were inspired to write the Word of God were inspired of God to write it. So, I mean, I don't need to be putting my own interpretation on it. So when we read Genesis 6:4, it talks about they were the mighty men of old, and that's something old that Daddy's been dealing with me on. If I'm going to give his word, even if I quote it verbatim, I need to be opening it up. But Daddy's been on a warpath here lately. And when I say that, I mean our Father who art in heaven, folks.
Hallowed be
Um,
thy name.
Yep, thy kingdom come, and thy will be done. His will be done in me, because I don't want no smoke. I'm gonna
I
just
don't
be
want no
honest with you,
smoke
folks. I'm
either.
afraid of them. There's you won't hear me say that about anything or anyone else, but all that. Oh well, that fear means reverence and existential awe and all that. No, that fear means fear. Fear means fear. If you don't fear the Creator God who sits outside of time and space, who designed intricately every atom in your body and every mountain that we could survey, then you're a fool. You're crazy.
hmm
I want you around me. Like if somebody, oh, I'm not afraid of God. I've talked to
Being a creep.
missionaries and preachers that say, oh, well, they said that they were blaspheming, said, oh, God won't do nothing to me, and their heart stops in the middle of the sentence.
hmm
I get chills, bro. Like I don't
Stroke
know,
out.
no, no, no. That's not a good. That's not a good look for me. I don't want no trouble.
And just like my brother, he brought that up today. He said we have lost the fear of God, the fear of our
Yes,
grandparents, the fear of our parents.
that's biblical too, bro. There's no
hmm
fear of God before their eyes. Like I'm not afraid of death. So what's there to be afraid of after that? But I mean, the Lord God Almighty, omnipotent. Yeah, I'm not playing them games with them. Like, bro, I'll
Mm-mm.
get up and leave the room if somebody's on that blasphemy stuff, or tell them that politely ask them to be quiet. But Genesis 6:4, and this is where everybody gets um this thing where this is what these creatures are. But it's a whole. I mean, if everybody talks about the Book of Enoch, but they're not talking about the knowledge in the Book of Enoch.
Right.
The Book of Enoch says plainly that all those angels took, like, what was it, 200 of every single living creature in creation, bug, mammalian, like mammals, fish, whatever, birds. They took them and they miscegenated with them. That means they cross pollinated. They mixed. They miscegenated these creatures with themselves. And I think that's where you're getting all the kraken, all these crazy creatures, because those were
Lizard
the old.
man.
Yeah, exactly. Those were the old little G gods.
Them Titans, like you brought up.
Yep.
Godzilla, King Kong,
Yeah,
King
3,000
Ghidra.
L's. Yeah, that's Godzilla. 3,000 L's is Egyptian cubit is equal to an L in the Book of Enoch. So whatever 3,000 times, what would that be?
And that's another one of those Masonic terms.
What?
Cubic, L's, that we had to be able to decipher on site.
So this always made sense to me, and you kind of opened my eyes to it. That G, that's because there's the the Freemasonic symbol, and then it has the
Mm-hmm.
I in it, and then the
Mm-hmm.
letter G underneath. That's
Mm-hmm.
God, right?
Yes.
God the Father.
Right. But then
All
as
right.
time went on and people started getting sensitive, they took the the all seeing eye out of it. Some people took the G out of it, but a lot of people left the G in it.
If that's the case, if that's what it is, I wouldn't change nothing. I wouldn't care what nobody
Right.
thought.
Right. But it became more political and
Yeah.
also like masonry is like everything now, it's about politics. We don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. We still need members. We still need your dues and your money to keep this organization going. So we
Well,
don't want
that's
to offend
crazy to
nobody.
me because my uncles and my dad would tell me some crazy stories about like
Oh,
since they
we'll
were Masons. Yeah, yeah,
Mason
they
did
took
some
care of
good back
business.
then.
Yeah,
My
they took
great
care of
uncle, all of
business.
them. Yeah,
You better not
they.
be beating up on no woman or neglecting your children or anything like that, because one of the brothers is
You,
gonna come talk to you.
yep, you might have found yourself in somebody's hog pen back then.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and that's the Gary Barnell says do you look for the Mark Cryptid Reality is filming down in Florida? Yeah, I've talked to Mark the other day. I got you. But anyway, sorry folks. Thank you everyone for joining. This has been another fun show. We got up to 70 listeners at one point in time, so that's a very very good thing. And we held a solid crowd. It's a very interesting, man. And I mean, again, after 3 shows in, we just now really start to scrape the surface. But for all those who joined and all those who listen afterwards, God bless y'all. Hey, and the membership link, and I apologize for it, I got it done, is in the description box below. And apologies to the members who have started so far. Y'all have been sort of neglected. That will be rectified forthwith. So, you got anything else for us, Steve-O, for tonight?
No, sir. Thank you all for listening and love them questions because I'm the kind of person, you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer.
And I appreciate that. You were very, very transparent, forthcoming, and stuff, and it's greatly appreciated. Folks, thank y'all again. Thank you for our contributors to the channel. If you'd like to make a contribution to our channel, you may do so with the links in the live chat with you now or the ones in the description box below. It really helps us make shows and all that good stuff. And I got to get a new computer, bro. That's just all there is to it for the
I'm still
for
fighting
my
to get this
production.
one working.
Yeah, you got the best though. You got one of the best there is. But yeah, and I sincerely appreciate all the executive producers, I call them, and which are the members and everyone who's made a contribution. Look for your name in the upcoming film that's coming out. You will be in the credits of that because I credit it to you. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you guys. So it is greatly appreciated. And we'll
And
see you
don't
tomorrow
forget,
night.
ladies, single dad, Army of One, right here in Georgia.
And Mr. Stephen Benjamin, single dad, Army of One, and he's got a great kid.
He's a
All
little
right.
feral, but he'll be all right one day.
He's a little feral. That's crazy. He's a little Tarzan is all. That's all right. Hey,
He got it
Tarzan
on
came
us.
from the House of Greystoke, though. So I mean, he came from a House of Lords.
Yes, he did.
Have you seen that new Tarzan movie, man? It's actually pretty awesome, I think.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, he does the Tarzan yell and everything, and it's not like it's shoehorned in there. I liked it a lot. It didn't. I don't think it did very well, but you know, you know how that goes nowadays.
Okay, single stitch mister. He want to hear more about them tunnels. We'll talk about that next time.
Hear
Cause
more about the what?
woo, them tunnels. You know when I
Yes,
was
bro. I want to hear more about the tunnels. I want to hear more about you
when I
wrestling with
was
juvenile Sasquatch. Are you kidding me?
babies. I was a baby back then, so they were babies too.
Yeah. You lucky one of them didn't break your neck accidentally, bro. Like,
Hey, my brother, he'll tell you some stories about that. If they got a little too rough, they'll tell you, hey. They'll be like, hey, calm that down. He ain't as strong as us now. Calm that down
yeah.
now. They'll calm down.
Who
They
would
got
tell them
too
that?
excited. The parents, their parents.
So the parents were there just watching y'all?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess that makes sense. That's remarkable to me. But anyways, folks, thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless y'all.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, and Happy New Year. We made it to 2024. 2024, the year of our Lord.
Amen.
Auto Domini, right?